Right. So, in the last three classes, what we have done is we have studied the context to the concept of yajna. Right? We have spent 4.5 hours discussing everything that makes sense for what yajna is. Right? It makes yajna, the concept of yajna, meaningful. So, and we have stopped at verse 9 for the last 3 classes, studying all the concepts around it. So, what we did was we started off with cultural difference. Why did we start off with cultural difference to study the concept of yajna? Now, why do you need cultural difference to understand cultural difference? To understand the concept of yajna.
Meaning the faith versus the...
Right? To make sure that we understand that duties are at the core of Vedanta. Right? The duties are the core of Indian culture, Hindu culture. It is not at the core of other cultures like Christian cultures. They have faith at the core. We have duties at the core. So that makes us apples and oranges. Things and assumptions that make sense in a Western context does not make sense to us. And in that context we studied about why are we vegetarians, why do you worship, and all of those things. They make sense within belief systems. They do not make sense in what? Tradition. Right? So that is what we were trying to distinguish between these two. A belief system and tradition. We are tradition. And at the core of tradition is what? What is at the core of tradition? Actions, right? Duties and actions. So we have another interesting thing to understand here is when West went about creating structures in society like democracy or industry, all of those things, they created a replica of the same template that is religion. You look at democracy, right? You have a set of beliefs in a book. What is a book? Right? In an industry, when you form an industry, an organization, what is mission statement? Statement of beliefs, right? If Indians had done something like that, you would never have found that. It would have been, instead of our organization, like for example, Hindu Temple of the Woodlands, when we form there is a mission statement, which is basically this. There's a jnana part, karma part, bhakti part. I don't remember, do we say we believe in, no, I don't think, because I was a part of that thing, so I never said believe in, but we are responsible for, jnana part, which is sharing of knowledge. This is being involved in service within the community and outside the community, and this is, to promote culture and all of those things. So, the Hindu Temple of the Woodlands stands for these 3. So, but in an organization, if it is based on our template, which has actions in the middle, it would only be action statements and responsibilities and duties, nothing to do with beliefs. Like if you look at an organization, it says, we believe the world should be like this. Right? That will not be if it is a Hindu template, it would only be that we will act to do this, we will do this, we will do this. That will become the core.
No, but even democracy, all the Western countries, Christian beliefs, they had monarchy, just like in India, and then it evolved over time to be more democratic.
I don't know if it is evolved,
I don't think it's anything to do with religion, because in the past, there were kings, there were all kings here, even in England and...
No, it has...
British Queen,
everything,
Greeks.
Whatever Christians did in secular life is nothing but a reflection of religion. There's a whole thesis about that. And you can see, democracy, India also had a democracy even though there was a king. The king was not authoritarian, right? The king he had his council of advisors and all that. He took decisions based on that. Even in the Greeks, it's not monarchy, because there was like a divine rights of king. A king was from God. That did not come in India. Nobody said king, is from God, and therefore gets a divine right, because there's no concept of right. Where is then the right to be a king? Right? There's nothing like that. You are a Kshatriya, It is your duty to do, rule and protect the citizens. And that's about it.
Sons will become kings, right? This is a right. Nobody is appointed as a king in Indian history.
Right. And there's nothing wrong in it. If they were not up to it or not capable, they would have, they will be over, because there's everybody praying each other, right? If there was on some weak person, another strong guy will come and overtake and overthrow. Yeah. So whatever the system, system doesn't make any difference. Even democracy has its own flaws. So, but if you look at from the planetary perspective, sun represents that, where one guy is authority. Who is sun's son? Shani, right? Shani says Tula. Tula Rashi, Libra. Libra says everybody is equal. Tol mol ke bol. Like that. I say everybody is equal. So it's very interesting. There is a study on what each of the planet represents in terms of economies. Right? Like sun represents, you can produce, but you have to pay tax to me. That's what sun says. Saturn says, you produce, but I don't have anything, I take it from you. Socialism. Right? Two extremes. They oppose with each other. Right? And Shukra Niti says, Shukra says, you enjoy, whatever you do, enjoy, but, do something. That's Shukra. Shukra is, no violence. You also gain, you also enjoy, I will also gain, I will also enjoy. That is Shukra Niti. Right? So each one has its own thing. So, what I was trying to say is, at the core of the Hindu religion, or not religion, or Hindu tradition, is set of actions. And that is what differentiates our culture from other cultures. So that's the reason why we studied cultural difference. And now I asked you in the last class, what are those roles and responsibilities that we are born with in the society? What are we born with? When we are born in society, we are born with duties. What are those 5 sacred duties? Panchamahayajna, right? What are those Panchamahayajnas?
Manusya, Bhut, Rishi,
Pitru? Daiva. Right? So basically in common parlance, it's going to be our duties and responsibilities towards nature and natural forces. Daiva Yajna. Our duties and responsibilities to our ancestors. Pitru Yajna. Our duties and responsibilities towards the animal kingdom. Right? That becomes Bhuta Yajna. Our duties and responsibilities to fellow human beings. That becomes Manushya Yajna. And our duties and responsibilities in knowledge sharing. That becomes Rishi Yajna. So these are the 5 duties we are born with. Right?
But those are something that's written, right? You have to do those things.
Yes.
So basically, I'm just trying to see what's the difference when you have certain rules in Christian religion. Our religion also has certain rules. These are the things you have to do. These are your duties.
Yeah, these are the duties. Yeah, these are all. See, there are two. You have to.
We wrote those. We as a religion, we thought these are important, and so we put it in there, right? So that we can follow.
Right. These are duties. These are responsibilities towards nature, our ancestors and all this. Yes. But the difference between that is, this is only talking about action. That talks about belief. Right? That makes the difference. One talks about belief. Christianity doesn't have. There is a concept of gratitude and giving back and all. Not just Christianity; it's there in native cultures and all over the place. I'm not saying only we have it and others don't have it. We have it within a context, and this is the context that a framework which is, we are born with duties and responsibilities towards these 5 broad categories of things, right? And what Krishna is going to talk about is one category of things, but it applies to all the other four categories. He talks about Daiva Yajna, but it also is true for Rishi Yajna or Manusha Yajna, all of those things. Right? But so there is some sense, even though that is kind of vanishing away in society. If you go back to your parents and grandparents, I said they always talked about it is your duty to do that. It's your duty to do this, right? And or going to temple, or doing annadanam, or doing this or that. All of this represents the kind of giving that has come to us, right? Even though we do not understand it in this sense, the tradition has come, even though it is slowly vanishing away. The tradition is coming down, through generations, as remnants of what once was done as a sacred duty, is now, my parents used to do this, do annadanam. I also want to do annadanam. My parents used to do, put food for animals. I also want to do this. So that it comes down to that level. But it remains in the culture, right? So these are the 5 sacred duties. Now, so what is the difference between yajna and dana? First of all, before going to next shloka, I want to make sure you know the concept of yajna. What is yajna?
In a broad sense, it's like offering. Right?
What are you offering?
Offering, like as you said, 5 different ways. So
Right. Why are you offering?
As a duty.
Correct. As a duty. But you are offering because you are getting. You are giving back. So it's a payback, right? So yajna is a payback. Dana is charity. So yajna is mandatory, right? It's obligatory. You have to do, because it's an when you are born in nature, you get things from nature. It is an obligation to give it back to nature, right? When you are born in society, it is your obligation to treat the fellow human beings right. It is your obligation to treat animals right. It's your obligation to treat, your ancestors. When I say ancestors, ancestors will be happy when the future generations are happy. It's always, I was talking about Pitru Runa, right, last time. How is Pitru Runa, your forefathers' Runa, a debt to forefathers, how is that paid back? No, Pitru Runa.
When you have kids.
When you have kids, right? So your future generation, it's like your grandfather is happy with with his grandchild, right? Like if your future generation is happy, your past is happy, right? So that means your Pitru Runa or Pitru Yajna is not just doing Pitru, Pitru Karmas or Pitru Karyas. It's also making sure that the future generations are happy, or they have the guidance and they are happy and all that, right? So that is Pitrus means both past and future, both come. It's not just past. It is both past and future, because the past is actually becomes happy when the future is happy. So that is what Pitru is, right? Pitru Runa is. And the same way animal. When animals are happy, everybody is happy. All of those things. All of those things comes as sacred. These are all what? These are paybacks. These are obligatory. Because you get something, you have to give back. If you get something, you don't give back, you are creating a lot of papa karma. Right? So if you're not doing it, you are creating papa karma. Right? So that is yajna. Dana is nothing. It's even though it is obligatory, but not in the sense of yajna. Dana is if you have more of something, give it to people who have less of that. That is dana. So
it's still voluntary at its core.
Dana is voluntary, correct. Yajna is obligatory, mandatory. Right? Yajna has to be done. Dana, good to do, nice to do. So those are the difference between yajna and dana. Right? Yajna is paying back.
So yajna for fellow human beings. How do you differentiate dana and anadana? Is it dana or is it actually doing service to human beings? Means what? It can both be combined, I think. Right?
No, dana is when you have the capacity to do, you do. Yajna is, it is obligatory that you have to offer to people who do not have it before you partake it.
So what is
paying the bills?
Examples?
Paying the bills, exactly.
Paying the bills,
No, it is like paying the bill.
Okay,
Yes.
services,
Yeah, right.
So you recognize that you have taken something from something.
From society,
That's right. And
and
then
it is your
saying,
obligation to pay back.
paying the tax.
Yeah, that's what I tell my son, when he has to do community service, that's what we try to tell him is that, you're getting so much from society. You have to do your little bit
To give back.
throughout life to give back to
Correct.
the same group of people, your environment that's giving you so much.
But then
Right.
isn't there a consequence for not doing yajna?
Yes.
Yes, imbalance, I guess.
We will talk about that. Krishna talks about it. So the consequence, in short, is papa karma. Your papa increases because it becomes akarma. That means you are not doing something which you are obligated to do in society. You are not doing it. So it becomes papa. So it's not just wrong action that is papa. Not acting is also papa. Right? Inaction is papa, right? Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbu ma te sanga astu akarmani. When Krishna says you should not be inactive, this is what he's talking about. Where you are obligated to act, if you are inactive, you are creating papa karma. So papa karma is not just karma, akarma is also papa karma. When you are supposed to do something, you don't do it, that becomes papa karma. So yajna is that. Yajna is a payback with what? With gratitude. Right? You are grateful for what you have and you are giving back from where you got. And all ancient cultures, you look at Native Americans or any ancient cultures, they always, when they go fishing, or native fishing communities, like in Kerala or somewhere, when they go fishing, they take only so much and then give back. They are not like, they don't go fish completely and destroy the species, right? That is modern way of doing. Overfishing, right? Overdoing is all a modern way of doing. People who had the sense of responsibility towards nature never did that. They only took what was needed and left others to thrive, right? That is what they did. So that is what is the concept of yajna. So yajna is not some mystical kind of, I sit in front of fire and I do this and that becomes yajna. That is also yajna. But yajna is a universal concept of which one of that is dravya yajna. That is what you do with physical fire. It's a daiva yajna to the deities. But that's not all of it. That is 1% of it. Every action is a yajna when it is done with a sense of duty, with a sense of purpose and gratitude. That's what Krishna is trying to say. When you do that, then your actions no longer become badaka. That means they do no longer put you in the chains of samsara or karma. There is no karma when you are doing yajna. Your karma is gone. Right? So is the concept of yajna clear? No, because I want to go further now. We have stopped here for 4 classes.
So in the true sense of yajna, is that basically, in the truest sense, at the extreme end, is that when you, is that analogous with destroying your ego? Because if you don't have ahamkar, you can truly give, you truly recognize.
Fantastic. Because I'll tell you the mantra which is used in a dravya yajna. Dravya yajna, they say, when you're putting dravyas into homa, they say, Varunaya idam swaha, Varunaya idam namama. What does that mean? Varunaya idam swaha. I'm giving. So, there are 2 kinds of givings in mantra. When you say swaha, you're giving to the devas. When you say swadha, you're giving to the pitrus. Right? When you do somaya swadha, that means soma as a pitru devata you're giving. Right? So, Varunaya swaha. I'm giving to Varuna. Varunaya idam namama. This is Varuna's. What I have is Varuna's namama. Not mine, not mine. Agnayedam swaha, agnayedam namama. This is for Agni. I am giving to Agni. Giving back. It is Agni's, not mine. Namah is also namama. When you say Ganeshaya namah, that nama, what does that nama mean? Nama means not mine, not mine. So that's because those are homa mantras. Where when you are doing the homa, you are saying, I am giving back to you what I got. It's not mine, it's always yours. It always has been yours, it's always yours, I am giving back to you. Right? So there is, when I say namama, there is no mamakara, there is no ankara. Right? You are not claiming it as your own. You are saying, you own it, I got it from you, I give it back to you.
That's
Right? So, what is that Sankranti, right, in Tamil Nadu? In the harvest season, they take Pongal. They take the thing, right, the grains, and they offer to the deities. I got the bounty from the deities. I offer a part of it, to the devas. That is nothing but yajna, acknowledgement or giving back, gratitude. So that is yajna. Yajna should be there in every aspect of life. That means you should always be thinking, we will all, Kali Yuga, right? Nobody does Panche Mahabhut yajnas now. So, but that's not a problem. Right? It's okay if we start doing some bits of it, bits and pieces of it, with the knowledge that, these are the things that ought to be done, that we have to do. Right? Always when we are doing something, how can I give back? How can I pay back? Something, when I say pay back, it means something that you do not get anything from.
selfless.
Right? Like for example, like knowledge sharing, right? What is the difference between, is a professor who is teaching in a college, is he doing jnana yajna? Why? He's getting paid for it. Right? A jnana yajna is done when you share knowledge without getting anything back. It is like as a giving without anything back. If you are getting something back for it, it is no longer any yajna. It becomes kamya karma. It's not yajna.
But if that same professor decides to stay after class to help the students
Correct.
who are falling behind,
Correct.
then that
That
definitely
becomes yajna, right? I was reading a story in India. This guy, he teaches maths, maths to 12th grade students, poor students who want to join IIT, a JEE exam. And this guy has a 9 out of 10 rate in getting students going there. And these are all poor students who don't pay anything to him. And this guy did that because he was a great mathematical genius. He wanted to get into Cambridge but did not have the money to go. He decided, okay, let me pay back, because he was teaching some poor students and they wanted to get JEE IIT admission. So he thought, okay, let me teach them. And no course gives this rate. 9 out of 10 of his students, course students, get into IITs in India. Right? Go read the story. Beautiful story. I think he's from Bihar or somewhere over Madhya Pradesh or Bihar. And this guy is so down to earth. And he was giving interviews and all that. And he only poor students. He teaches them math, and they get into IITs. So that is yajna. That is like a payback. Right? That is doing.
We don't call it payback. Payback is you got something, so you want to pay back. So it's basically giving up without expecting anything in return.
Payback and the dana, right? He's paying back because he's sharing knowledge. Right? I got this knowledge from teachers and from things.
From what you're telling me, yajna is almost like a dana, because you're giving it without expecting anything in return.
No, dana, you have not.
Is it dana or is it yajna?
It is both dana and yajna. It is yajna because it is his duty. Because he got the education from society, it is his duty to pay back so that others also get educated. That is yajna. Dana means I have a lot more, I give to people who don't have that much. That is dana. So it is all together. Yajna is as a duty he's doing it. Dana because he wants to give back.
So the paying taxes is not yajna then, because you already got the services.
Paying
it's not.
Yeah.
Paying what you owe.
Right. Yeah. So paying taxes is what you get.
Or you get something from that.
Like infrastructure. You get the infrastructure, you give back for that, or something like that.
But there's a consequence to not paying taxes. So, I don't know if there's any consequence for sharing the knowledge with the poor kids.
There is.
For the proper. Is there a consequence?
Not or for doing it or for not doing it.
For not doing it.
Yeah, of course. There is a consequence. If you do not do knowledge sharing, there is a consequence.
Not knowledge, not the
Dana part?
Yeah. Is there a consequence for not doing it since it's voluntary?
Not, there is no consequence. If you have to do dana. Which dana you do is up to you. Right? Which yajna you do is not up to you.
You have to do it, but,
You have to.
but there's no consequence for not doing it, is there?
There is no consequence for not doing it. In only one field or one domain. Right? It's like you are saying, should I do charity in education? It's fine. If your question is, should I do charity at all? Then there is a consequence. If you don't do charity at all. But if you don't do charity in education but in something else, that's fine. Because you're doing in something that you have more of, that you're sharing. So that becomes dana. That becomes, whatever you choose to give in charity is up to you. There's no obligation on what you need to do. But in yajna, there's an obligation that you have to do. Right? You have to share. You have to give back in this field, in this thing, in all of those things. All the 5 Pancha Mahayajnas. But not in dana.
So
is this clear? Yeah.
So in other words, what you're saying is, with dana you get punya karma, and with yajna you avoid papa.
In yajna also you get punya karma.
Okay.
Just for the performance of that. We will see that. What kind of punya karma comes. But there is a lot of instant consequences for yajna. Well, that's what Krishna will say here. But other than that, is the concept of yajna and dana and all of those things very clear?
So they all pretty much mingle from what you're telling me that
Yeah.
it's not you can't separate them, it's separate defined.
No, just like I was telling him.
You see, I think I'm trying to think of it as like one has consequence if you don't do it, like paying tax. If you don't do it, they're going to arrest you or something. And then if you don't do the other, then there isn't really any consequence.
No. When you pay taxes, you get better roads, let's say.
Right.
There is a
But
consequence.
if you don't pay taxes,
You get
they're
in,
gonna come
yeah.
after you.
So for both there's consequence. It's not like you're paying and nothing is happening,
No.
right?
But what he's saying is for charity, there's no consequence if you don't do charity. But if you don't do yajna,
There is consequence,
there's
yeah.
consequence.
No. There is consequence if you do not do charity at all. Right? There is no Vedic statement which says you ought to do a charity in this. Charity is something that's left to you. Right? So if you prefer to do charity in something that is very interesting to you, that is your charity. There is no obligation for you to do charity. You ought to pay $1 million into a temple. Nobody will say that. Right? Yajna is you ought to pay taxes. You ought to do that. There is nothing. You have to do that. But in charity, charity is not like that. Charity is, okay, you have interest to give this, then give this. But at least give something. That is charity.
Right.
I mean, is it understandable now? Yeah. So charity is what you do with your own, desire, intent, right? Yajna is not like that. Yajna is a payback that you have to do. Whatever it is, you have to do that.
So, talking about charity, for example, because it's up to the person to decide how to contribute to the charity.
Right.
Let's say I like watching public broadcasting service.
Yeah.
They are totally funded by charity.
Right.
So if I were to give money to the PBS,
Jnana Yajna.
yeah. So or NPR, which is what I think most of us listen in the cars. That's charity, even though it's not like I'm going and sweeping the roads or helping in a soup house.
Right.
Okay, it's writing a check and sending it to these organizations that I feel is doing a good social job or community service.
Definitely. Yeah.
But not paying the check is also doesn't mean that I'm going to be penalized. I don't have to provide them with
At least,
funding.
unless you are doing at least something in that field. That means, let's say PBS is a Jnana Yajna. That means they are sharing knowledge, good knowledge with society. By paying the check, you are doing a Jnana Yajna. Right? Your intent is, I'm giving this so that they thrive and multiply and be able to spread. Because it was helpful to me.
That's right.
It is my bounded duty to make it sustain, like Wikipedia.
So they're not-
Sustain the Wikipedia because they are doing such a nice job. That becomes yajna,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So dana is something where you choose to do it for even though it has of no consequence to you.
Correct.
You're not getting anything from it, but you just want to dump them out.
Sure.
So if you are like, for example, Wikipedia, if a person is using Wikipedia always to do all the research, but they are going down, and you are like, okay, let somebody else pay. I will only take the fruits of it.
Yeah.
That becomes, if you are using something, pay.
Pay it back.
That is yajna, right? If you are not even using something, then even then you are doing something to it.
charity.
That becomes charity.
Correct. Okay.
Right?
I have to pay NPR fees.
But Sunil, that also leads you to the Swakarma and Sanyoga Karma and
Correct.
Paraspara
Karma. Correct.
thing, correct?
Yeah.
So you decide on the basis of what impact that will have,
Right.
and then do the charity.
Correct. But you cannot plan all the consequences. It is the intent, right? It is like, but for writing a check is not swakarma. It is samyoga karma. You are giving a check to them so that they can do good job. So that good thing that they do, you take a portion of it for your karma. So that's the difference. Swakarma comes to you. Samyoga karma or paraspara karma is shared among all the people, but still a great thing. Right? So is that because this is the core of Hindu Dharma. Nothing else is core. This concept of yajna is the core. Concept of gratitude is at the core of Hindu Dharma.
So, is it true that it doesn't stop at the mental level? So once you have this awareness and you're grateful for whatever's happening, you also have a duty to be able to perform it at a physical level. It doesn't stop there.
Exactly. That's what karma is, right? So you may say, I'm so grateful.
Yes.
And it's also not saying, okay, give this much. How much, whatever you have got, give a portion, pay back with the intent of, I want to pay back and sustain that good karma. It is not saying you have to pay back this amount. It is saying whatever is possible with you, pay back to sustain good things that you took advantage of. It is your duty to pay back so that others also take advantage of it. So that becomes yajna. Okay? So, I believe it's clear now what is yajna, what is dana, it is clear. That is the core of Vedic Dharma. This is what we are all born with. Sense of duties and purpose. That means people, in Vedic mantras, Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Sahaviryam Karavavahai means let us do great things. Right? Viryavaktaram, great things. Let's do great things. That sense came with, okay, I want to do something for the future. So there's greatness. People enjoy, people thrive on it. That sense of purpose to do something great was there, in the DNA of Vedic Dharma. Right? But that is sadly lacking now in our culture. That sense of, okay, I want to give back. I want to create institutions. I want to create this so that people, what mentality has come down is, let them do, I will enjoy. Right? Free rider.
So the whole culture has changed. I'm looking at just take the way of taxes. Majority of the people in India are not paying taxes. Everybody knows that. Even if they pay, they don't pay the due share. So the whole culture has changed. We still can we call ourselves Hindus? It's a totally different culture now.
Yeah, there are but remnants of it.
Because
Yeah.
we pick on the whole, depending on what kind of diet we eat, what kind of puja we do, but
Right.
if we don't do all the yajnas properly, then how can we call ourselves?
We are at the outer layers of that. We are not core Hindus in that sense of the term, right? We are clinging to a few things and some world views that we have. That's it. That is exactly. Yeah. We are kind of namesake Hindus, because there is nothing in actions, right, which reflect that. that sense of purpose that the Gita and all the texts talk about, that's not there. Right? And also, I mean, there are in India, if you look at colonialism and all that, there are 2 or 3 systems operating together. Why see, Indians, they open their purse in Tirupati, right? Why is that? It's not like there is no culture of giving. There are people who have done a lot of service, but in a different sense, right? Why is that the people open their purses in Tirupati or in Woodlands Hindu Temple, or why? Because those are the things that make sense. In our culture, it's come down that we open purse in these things, but not in those things, right? But the political system in India, they are completely like this, right? A lot of things we don't even understand. I give to him, he will put in his own tijori, right? It's like that, right? He's not going to use it. At that point of time in India, everything was local. I gave something, it was only used locally. Here you give something, you don't know where it goes and lands, right? So all of those things are there. I mean, the fault is everywhere.
I think the other thing is at the core of Hindu culture, this sense of humility. I think is that allows the gratitude to manifest or strengthen your acknowledgement of what you're getting and receiving from everybody around you.
Right.
Increases if you have that sense of humility, and I think that is missing. We may call ourselves Hindus, but as long as we're not humble, I think,
and grateful,
which is two
humility,
sides of the same coin, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's where we are lacking right now.
I think you and I pay taxes anyway, so we should be.
No, nothing. I'm saying we are, but again, we try to.
No, but see, the other part is, I think there's a feeling in India and a lot of places that we are not getting enough to pay the taxes. That's why a lot of people don't.
That's why you don't
go
get
to some
enough,
place where, if you go to some place where really things are happening, then people do pay the taxes. That's how they're happening. I mean, it works both ways.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a local level, see, we still have those English terms, collector. At that time, collector made sense because he was collecting taxes for the British Empire. You still have the same position, all the bureaucracy that we have today is exactly what British had put in place, and they are put in place to extract.
Yes.
And the same thing our own people are doing, right? As brown sahibs. They're doing the same like British, they're putting people and extracting. That's why you don't want to pay.
Without services.
Yeah, right? So, but if you let them do their things themselves, I'm sure they're going to pay, and if things are in a local level, they govern themselves, it's all localized, everybody is going to open their purses. I mean, you see that, right? We see, it's not like Indians as a whole do not open their purse. They do not open their purse in things that does not make sense to them. They open it in things that make sense to them. That's why Tirupati is overflowing, because they think this is what we should be doing. But Tirupati should be using that to do something else. But they're not. So, that's what it is. So that's what dana, charity, and all of those things are. So now, let's move forward now.
Yes.
Okay. So now Krishna, he's now, he will relate a story on how this yajna came about. Very interesting. See, in interpreting texts, in Vedanta texts, right, like Vedas, Upanishads, Gita, everything, you need a certain procedure, a certain way. You cannot just open a text and read something and literally understand it. It's not possible. It has to be within a context. It has to be within certain rules. And those rules are, there are 6 tatparya lingas. That means 6 characteristic interpretation methods. Upakrama upasamhara. That is the lowest. Right? I'll explain each one. Abhyasa. Phala. Apurvata. And then arthavada. Upapatti. So these are called 6 tatparya lingas. That means these are 6 tools that you use to interpret a text to get the right meaning. That is a tatparya linga. What is upakrama upasamhara? Upakrama upasamhara means, upakrama means introduction. Upasamhara means conclusion. What this rule says is, whenever you interpret a text, it has to be in line. The meaning should be fixed based on what is there in the introduction, what is there in the conclusion. That means if introduction says something and the body of the text says something else, that means the interpretation is wrong. What the text promises to say has to be the context within which you have to interpret the body of the text. So that means conclusion and introduction and conclusions are strong indicators of the meaning of essence of a text. That's called upakrama upasamhara. So whenever we are interpreting a text, interpret it only in lines with what the introduction promises and what the conclusion also summarizes. Right? So that is one. More than that, each one is powerful, more stronger than the preceding one. Abhyasa. Abhyasa means whatever concept is repeated within the body is the central theme. Fix the meaning based on that central theme that repeats again and again in the text. That's called abhyasa. Abhyasa means repetition. Right? So that's abhyasa. Then the third one is upakrama upasamhara, phala and apurvata. Apurvata means novelty. There should be something new. Now the question is, there are so many Upanishads, so many Samhitas, so many Gita, and then there are so many other Puranas. Is everything saying the same thing? Then only one should be there, right? All the others are useless. Right? So, even within the context, even within the message, even within the subject, a new text should introduce a novelty, a new concept. Otherwise, it need not be studied. Right? So, a Purana, if say Brahma Purana, what does Brahma Purana say? What is that different from Vishnu Purana? So, there may be some similarity in concept, but it is bringing something new. That is the reason why it exists. So, fix your meaning based on the novelty it brings. Otherwise, it is superfluous. If it is already there in the Gita, why do you need Upanishad? Or if it is Upanishad is already there, why do you need a Gita? Right? So, when you fix the meaning of Gita, your context should be Gita is simplifying and clarifying the Upanishad. That has to be a central theme. That is the apurvata of Gita. Right? Simplification of the concept and clarification of the concept of the Upanishads and all the Vedic literature is what Gita does. That should be your guiding light to what you study in the Gita. That is what apurvata means. Apurvata means something which is apurva, that is not there in any other text. Okay? Phala. Phala means fixing a meaning should be done based on the outcomes it prescribes. For example, if it says, if you do such and such an action, you become a mukta. Then such a meaning, like for example, I'll give you a good example. If you go and have a dip in Ganga, you will attain mukti. Correct? No, it's not. See, I'm saying it's not a belief. I'll tell you how it is not a belief. Right? If you immerse yourself in Ganga, you will become mukta. What is the phala here? Getting mukti is phala, right? So based on that, but the sutras say, Nanya panta vidyate ayanaya. There is no other path other than knowledge to mukti. Now where did this, dipping, immersing oneself in Ganga or immersing ashes of a dead person in Ganga bring mukti? Right? It cannot. So phala, based on the phala, you have to interpret. Right? So your meaning should not, if the Purana actually says that. A Purana says, if you dip in Ganga, you will become mukta. How do you, if you literally read it, then it goes against everything that the sutras and Gita and the Upanishads talk about. Either it's wrong or there is something else. Right? So apurvata, phala is like that. In the context in which to understand it, it's not belief. It is much stronger than phala, which is arthavada. What is arthavada? There are 4 components to arthavada. Ninda, Stuti and Purakalpa, Prakriti. These are technical terms, right? Purva Mimamsa technical terms. Ninda. If a certain thing is criticized heavily in a text, that is something that should not be done. That is Ninda. Stuti. If something is excessively praised, it shows the importance of it. Right? Purakalpa. That means if a story is related, it gives you a special meaning. That's what Krishna is doing. Purakalpa. Parakriti. If some rishi is quoted, that means that there is an importance in what he has done. Look at his work and then interpret the text. Now, when I said, if you have a dip in Ganga, you will become a mukta. What is that? It's not phala. It is tuti. It means it is an exaggerated praise, not the fact. That's what Arthavada is. There's a lot of Arthavadas in the Puranas. If you literally read it, it becomes very conflicting with the main message. Right? What is the main message for mukti?
You have to do something proper.
Knowledge. Right?
Knowledge.
Without knowledge, there is no mukti. Right? Knowledge opens up, bhakti and everything. Without knowledge, there is no mukti. Right? That is the main. Now, when you are reading Purana, it says, when you a person took a dip in Ganga and then next second he lost his body and all the karmas were gone and he became mukta. What happens? Contradicting, right? What does that mean? That means it is an Arthavada. What is an Arthavada? Arthavada is excessive praise of something only to show its importance, not a fact. So, when it says, when you dip in Ganga, you become mukta, it only shows that Ganga is such a great purifier. It doesn't literally mean it gives you mukti.
Purify your body, maybe.
Yeah.
Not your soul.
Yeah, it does not. Yeah, purification of the body is the basic thing, right? So, as a parampara, it can lead to mukti. That means purification of the body leads to purification of the mind. Then you get interest in studies, and then you study, you get knowledge, then knowledge leads to mukti. Okay, that way correct. But if you say, I dip in Ganga, I have done such worst things in this world, and every papa karma goes and I will become mukta, no, it is impossible. Right? So that is stuti. Stuti means excessive praise only to show a certain thing is important.
So I think the same thing applies. So if you visit a certain temple, all your things will go.
They're all stutis. Right? They'll say, there is a Sthala Purana. Sthala Purana is very, very, misleading. Parshurama had come here, you come there, step there, and just bow, everything is gone, they'll say. Right? If you take it literally, then you are gone. So, all of these Sthala Puranas basically are excessive stutis. They are Arthavada. So, if you have that understanding, these things do not make any conflict with the ideas. The main principles are, without knowledge you cannot get mukti.
It's like in a Satyanarayan Puja, you have those 5 stories.
Exactly. I should have brought that up, right? Satyanarayan Puja, what does it say? There's a story of this lady. She was going to get her husband who was coming back in the boat, and suddenly she forgot to eat the prasad, and the husband, they drowned in the river. You see, he remembers that. Okay. What is that?
Exaggeration.
Ninda. That is excessive, exaggerated account of something that should not be done. That's it. It doesn't mean, if you don't take prasad, everything will fall down. No. It says, when you have done the puja, you have to accept the prasad of the deity. That you have offered the prasad to the deity, you have to partake it.
Understand the meaning.
Unless you understand it as an arthavada, you will be like scared.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right? If you look, I've talked about it in one of the classes here. Satyanarayan's story is like, it is the most fear-inducing story. Because, he did that.
Can God be that
Evil.
Vengeful? No.
merciless?
Yeah. It cannot be. Right? It is not like that. So, you will understand the context only when you understand Tatparya Linga. It is an Arthavada. When you understand it's an Arthavada, Then you will see, okay, yeah. That means it is saying this is important, needs to be done. This is not important, like those things. It is not factual. Arthavada means it is not factual. Excessive ninda, excessive stuti. It's not factual. So unless you know all this, you open a book or you read a story like Satyanarayana Katha, what will happen to you? You will not leave home. Right? So that is exactly what happens if you do not use Tatparya Lingas to interpret, to get the meaning.
And the flip side is trying to do Satyanarayana Puja with the expectation that all of your problems will miraculously go away. That's also very incorrect.
Right. I mean, we have studied the karma theory, right? So,
believe that to make people happy.
So
to make people happy.
why have we,
Layman, you can't, expect a layman to understand all these, in-depth thing just to make them at least do the basic
Yeah,
things. Just
right.
I think
Yeah.
we are stuck in basic things. Why can't we change the culture here in our own temple? Maybe get your way of teaching us, make it more.
Then nobody will learn to temple. So that
They will kick me out of the temple.
really is going down.
Actually, it's very useful to know this as a context of what we do at the temple.
Exactly, yeah. You need to know what is Arthavada, what is a statement of fact.
Yes.
Otherwise, it is going to be very, very confusing, and you will all turn it into a belief system.
Kids will ask all those questions.
Right. But you can see at kid level, you cannot explain this too, right? It is, how can you explain Arthavada to a kid? They have to,
You can't.
Yeah.
Explain it to me. I'm
You can-
confused.
right? It is like, you have to come to a certain level of understanding and then you can, and you need to have a cultural context also, right? They need to know Satyanarayana Katha and the dread it induces,
Oh.
right?
Very fine.
Yeah. Okay, so Arthavada, in Arthavada there's and Upapatti is the final one. Upapatti means reasoning. When it gives a certain reasoning to do a certain thing, then that carries a lot of weightage in interpretation. So, to interpret a text, you need to understand 6 Tatparya Lingas. Right? Then, for example, when you are interpreting Puranas, when you look at the statement, dip in Ganga gives you moksha, you will know the right context. If you have the Tatparya Linga of Arthavada. Otherwise, if you read every statement and take it to be literally true, then there is a lot of conflicts and a lot of things that are irrational, useless. So you need to understand what is Arthavada, what is a statement of fact. And in the Arthavada I said it's Ninda, Stuti and Purakalpa and Prakriti. Prakriti means somebody's work you are quoting. There's a lot in the Upanishads, it says this Rishi was saying this. That becomes very important. Purakalpa means relating a story about this, of how it was in the past, how it was done in the past. That is, again, another Arthavada. It means the story will tell you the meaning of the context. That's what Krishna is doing. Right? Why is Krishna telling a story here? What is that? It's an Arthavada component called Purakalpa. That means relating a story to make the meaning obvious. That is what Krishna is doing. Krishna says, 10th sloka, Sahayajnaha prajaha srishtva pura uvacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam esha vaha astu ishtakamaduk. So what Krishna says is, Sahayajnaha prajaha srishtva pura uvacha prajapati. Prajapati, here Prajapati is Brahma. The original Prajapati is Brahma. He said, he created Sahayajna Prajaha. That means he created people with Yajna Karmas, their duties. He did not just create people, he created people with their duties. Sahayajna Prajaha Srishtva, creating Pura Uvacha Prajapati. Brahma then told his creation. He says, Anena prasavishyadvam esha vaha astu ishtakamaduk. That means, by this, anena, yajnena, prasavishyadvam. That means, get your heart's content. Get your desires fulfilled by this yajna. Esha Yajna Astu Ishta Kamaduk. What is Kamaduk? Kamaduk.
Kama is a desire.
Duk, no, not dukkha. It's a duk. Kamaduk.
Kama is desires.
Yeah. Ishta Kamaduk means what?
Personal desires.
Whatever you wish.
Yeah.
Kamadhenu. That which milks. That is. Kamaduk means Kamadhenu. You know Kamadhenu, right? Nandini. Kamadhenu. So, let it be a Kamadhenu to you. That means, let you be able to milk all your heart's desires from Yajna. Because it is a giver of whatever you desire.
Now what's the yajna here?
All their duties and responsibilities, paybacks, right? He's saying, what Prajapati or Brahma is saying is, I have created you with your responsibilities, with your paybacks. With that, you shall be able to fulfill all your heart's content by just performing those duties. Let it be the Kamadhenu to you that you can milk your heart's content by performing those duties.
So you take from society, but you give to the society.
So the concept here is, what you give back is what you get. We do not understand. How many of you know Jyotish? At least a basic. Very basic. Now, like houses and all that, you know what first house stands for, 12th house stands for and all that? You know that? Okay, I know you know that. Okay, in Jyotisha, the 12th house is called Vyaya Bhava. Vyaya means that which you give or that which you lose is Vyaya. 11th house is Labha Bhava. That means that which you get. And always the second house, like for example, I don't know how many of you were there when I did Kala Purusha. Were you there? I don't know. I think in the Kathopanishad, during Kathopanishad, you were there, I think. Like the 12 Rashis are a Kala Purusha. Like the Lagna or the Aries stands for your head. Second house is your mouth, where you eat. Right? So your whole of the Rashis is, it's a macrocosmic equivalence of a human body. Right? So second stands for what you consume. 12th stands for what consumes you. Right? Your Vyaya Bhava. So what second is that which puts food, that which you sustains you is second. So 11th is your Labha. What you get. 12th is Vyaya. 12th is what? Second from 11th. Means what? What you give is what you get. Right? What you give is what you get. Even though the universe is a force multiplier. You give 10, you get 100 back. But the thing is, what you give, without giving there is no getting. If you are getting something, you have given somewhere in the past. Without giving, there is no getting. There is no getting at all. Unless there is a Vyaya, there is no Labha. Right? Without payback,
each reaction has the reaction, so there has to be some action before you get anything.
Yeah,
back.
like that. So your giving is the food that will come back to you to sustain you. That is your Labha. Yeah. So that is what. So here Prajapati says, you can get all your heart's content by giving. He says, you give in all this, you will get back. Right? Like, I don't know how many of you, go to Jyotishis and ask for, solutions and all that. But if you look at, Shani Dosha, all of those things, all the things that the solutions that they prescribe, they come in one of these 5. You notice. Either it is Bhuta Yajna, either it is Daiva Yajna, either it is Pitru Yajna, or Manusha Yajna, or Rishi Yajna. It will be one of those 5. It will be. The thing is, if you are doing it, you will never have problems in life. The problems in life, because of all the grahas, your past is coming, because you are not doing your duties, the lopa is causing the problems. Right? If you do all these 5 duties correctly, there is no defect in you that any of your past karmas can attack. It's all gone. You are clear. There is nothing in you that you are not doing that is not kept the devas happy, and therefore giving. Right? That is what is the concept of living universe. Living universe is the universe that in which we live is not some dead thing. We actually interact with it. When we give back to the universe gives back to us. Right? And all the forces of nature behind that are conscious entities that are witnessing us at all the time. All the time. They are sakshis. And I told you there are 33 direct sakshis. Who are those 33 direct sakshis? Last class. Who are those 33 devatas? Who are those 33 devatas? Come on.
I was one there.
The five senses.
No. 33 devatas. With whom we interact directly. You have to give the numbers.
33. 11 is the right way.
Ashtavasu, Ekadasha Rudra, Dwadasha Aditya. How many does it make? 31. Purandara, Indra, Prajapati. 33. So these are, and I told you what each one of is, right? Vasus are directly the tattvas, which, the fire. Agni is a Vasu. Right? Agni is not an Aditya. Agni is not a, Rudra. Agni is a Vasu. The 5 elements in which we are surrounded by, those are Vasus. Surya and Chandra, they are Vasus, direct. Surya and Chandras are Vasus, right? They are all Vasus. Nakshatras, they are Vasus. So these are the ones that are directly influencing us through the tattvas. Panchatattvas, right? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi. 5 tattvas in which we are directly interacting. I was actually yesterday reading an Upanishad called Garbhopanishad. Upanishad of how a child is born. Fetus is formed. Right? In the 9, is it 9 months or 10 months?
9 months. 9 months.
40.
Medically, it's 9.
40 weeks.
40 weeks.
How many months it is?
10.
So if you take 4 weeks as a month, then you got more months.
See, it is 10 lunar months, 9 solar months. Lunar tithis, it's 10 lunar months, 9 solar months. 9 months of solar month, like 30 days into 9, or 10 Chandramana, right? What is Wednesday?
Lunar thing. That's something. Lunar.
Wednesday.
11th, isn't it?
No, what is Wednesday?
Wednesday there is Lunar something.
New Year. Yeah.
Yugadi.
Yeah, Yugadi.
Oh, I thought it was the 11th.
No, so
The temple is 11th. That's what I thought. The
Thursday.
celebration is 11th.
I thought it's 10th. Amavasya is Tuesday, so next day. Is it?
It's 11th.
What is the official? What is the name for it? Telugu New Year.
Lunar, yes.
Right? So it's the. If you say Telugu New Year, then what happens to Kannada people? Right? It's a Chandramana Yugadi, and April 14th, Tamil New Year.
Makara Sankranti, right?
No. Makar Sankranti is. What is April 14th? Sauramana Yugadi, right? Solar Yugadi. That means when Solar Yugadi and Lunar Yugadi come near each other, that means we have had an extra month put. This year was 13 lunar months, right? There was one Adhik Mas. That's why next year, the Lunar New Year will be 15 days before. And then year after that, again it goes 1 month away. Solar will be in April, Lunar will be in early March, like that. Then again they put a month, it comes near this thing. Okay? So, what was I saying?
Giving
Yeah, so giving is always any solution that any of the Jyotishis or even the Pandits prescribe for your difficulties and all of those things. There will be one of these 5 that you ought to have been doing, you are not doing. If you do, you will get it. Right? Like for example, a person doesn't have children, right? That means you have no kids at all. That means there is something with the Pitrus if you look at the horoscope or something, you'll see that something with the Pitrus is not there. Then they'll say, you do these things. Then the Pitrus will be happy. And then suddenly everything opens up. Right? So not doing these things will cause something called as blocks. Right? Yajnas, when you do a yajna, you unblock certain blocks that come in the normal natural process of things happening. That means normal natural process thing is a person get married, will have lots of kids, and then they have their kids, and their vamsha, their vamsh will become increased, and then they'll have a lot of wealth and happiness and all this. That is a normal natural process of things. And this will be normal and natural as long as you keep all the 5 happy. But when there is a lopa dosha in any of these 5, they create blocks. Right? Some of I'll tell you an example of. Do you know this concept of Grama Devata, Kula Devata, Grama Devata and all that? Grama Devata is in a place in which you go to old villages, they have village Grama Devata, right? And then your whole family deity, your family would have performed pujas to a deity over ages, right? And suddenly one generation stops it, or it just moves on to do something. And then after that, when Kula Devata is not satisfied, I think Kula Devata is not satisfied.
Strong.